path to home care can be different for everyone. Many people wait to get started because of the cost, which often ends up with your loved one not getting the care that they need. Indecisions can cause more problems, and the benefit of home care is that it gives you more time to think about things. It's not a big yearly commitment. You can go month to month, and it could be something that is just maybe a holding pattern for a while. So, my name is Betsy Miller, the owner of Home Instead in Orange Park, Florida, and today we're going to talk about the cost of home care. Before we talk about how to pay for home care, let's talk about the current state of home care and what's going on, the big picture. Right now, there's a large demand. A lot of the baby boomers have already hit their mid to late 70s, and they're needing the most care out of everyone. That means that there's not always enough caregivers. We have a limited caregiver supply. And those that do work in the industry, they need to make a living. So they're looking for full-time hours. So those of you that might want a couple hours here and a couple hours there are going to have a hard time finding that consistent caregiver to be able to do those hours. That's why agencies, you'll find when you call around, have minimums. A lot of times you'll hear things like a 4-hour minimum or a 12-hour a week minimum. That's not uncommon. They're not trying to get money out of you or make more money. They're trying to have the most consistent caregivers to be able to fill the shifts that the clients want. And prices continue to increase because the minimum wage increases. In Florida, for example, we've increased our minimum wage $1 every year, and we're moving up to the $15 per hour amount. So even though the laws have changed a little bit, we have to pay for travel time. So even travel time is paid at the bare minimum of the minimum wage. Then the regular hours could be paid at a dollar or two more, or even $5 more for that matter. So that has a little bit to do with the wages. And the other thing to think about is, do you really want the cheapest cost for your parents? When you're hiring a company, you probably want to make sure that you're going with a company that you trust, and that you really want to make sure that they have those insurances in place and an admin staff to fill shifts when people call out. And that adds to the administrative costs of that agency as well. When it comes to the cost of care, people sometimes don't think about the opportunity cost, which could be the cost of your time. That's not always something that is top of mind because you're in it. So day to day, family caregivers spend an average of 20 to 30 hours a week caring for loved ones. That often leads to burnout and can be overwhelming. I think I've heard of a statistics a while back that after you spend so much time caregiving, you lose your sense of self, of being like, not necessarily your sense of self, but once you've spent over 50% of your time caregiving, you consider yourself a caregiver, and you're forgetting that you're really the daughter, and that time spent as a daughter is less and less. And as that time becomes much more valuable, that's something to very much consider. It can also put strain on relationships. The mother-daughter relationship is hard enough. You can imagine that as your mom ages and she's losing her independence, that there's going to be a lot more arguments, or patience is running out. And so if you can, protect that relationship a little bit better, sometimes that opportunity cost is worth it. And also, the caregiver yourself, you might be missing out on things that is just your own quality of life, such as exercising, eating properly, spending time with your spouse or your children. And hiring professionals allow you to focus on this special quality time with your loved ones. So now let's talk about how we pay for home care. The most common types of payments is number one, private pay. If you're lucky enough to have opened a long-term care insurance your loved one did many years ago, long-term care is a great way to help supplement, or in many cases, pay for the home care. And lastly, veterans benefits. If your mom or dad used to be a veteran, there might be a solution. There might be direct benefits or what's called aid and attendance. Another thing to really consider is, does your loved one want to stay at home rather than go into a facility or move in with family. What is it? What do they really want? And where do they want the money to be spent? Their safety is something that many times family, it comes down to if you're going to work every day or you live an hour or 5 hours away, do you worry about them during the day and their safety? Because a lot of times that's the phone calls that we get first. It's they're concerned about their loved one during the day or at night. What resources are available? So that's something that we will come in when we do our consultation, and we will find out about the family. Do you currently have a neighbor that comes in and checks on your loved one? If you're the daughter, do you bring over meals every night, once a week? What's currently in place? And we can work around the current situation. I had a situation where there was a brother and sister, and their mom lived about an hour away from where they live. And they took turns. They made a schedule that one stayed every other weekend, and they flip-flopped. So we took care of the care Monday through Friday, and then the brother and the sister switched off on the weekends and stayed with their mom every other weekend. So that was a good way to make sure that the cost stayed within their budget, and we all worked together, and the mom and the children were happy because they got to see each other in the capacity of the family, not always being a caregiver. So next steps. If you're thinking about looking into home care, and now you kind of have an idea of what the costs are going to entail, think about what your day looks like. What are your needs? Do you need more help in the morning? Do you need more help at night? Those are going to help us to put together a schedule when we come out for the consultation, or whatever company you use comes out for the consultation. And that way you can kind of figure out, how do we make this work with our budget? If you'd like to learn more about the cost of home care, go to our website at www.homeinstead.com/193.